Hey guys, so I'm going to do just a quick video announcement going over a couple of things. One, we are starting your first studio activity. If you look on the calendar, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, you'll notice that it is due Friday the 24th prior to class. So it's something that you need to have done when you come to class next Friday, and I've already submitted for the reason that we're going to use bits of that activity in class and baseball, the brainstorming that we do in class off of that studio work. And again, the differences with studio work is, as you can see with like your daily prep, it's due like each class, whereas these studio activities are larger activities that you work on independently that could be brainstorming, research, reflection, but they take some time and they support things that we're doing in class. But you may get them like a week or two in advance, and you have an extended period of time to work on them and get those in on your own time, and have some time in class to ask questions and things like that. And sometimes we will go over these via these sort of screencast video announcements, as opposed to spending large chunks of time in class going over the studio work. So I'm going to come back to the home page and show you where to find this. So if you're looking at studio, you click here. And you scroll down, there's information on this page, again, like what does a studio look like, what kinds of things, it lists some kinds of things that might be in your studio activity. Assessment, again, I'm going to go ahead and kind of highlight this. You're assessed based on completing all of the requirements. Again, we've talked about a complete versus an incomplete. Being accurately following directions. A lot of times, because these are big multifaceted activities, people won't always read all of the instructions, or they'll miss something, and that can cause you to get an incomplete. How well you engaged and were thorough with your work or your research or whatever the components are for that project. I'm going to scroll down here just to the first one. So the first studio activity, again, due Friday the 24th prior to your class time, because I have several sections under this site. So you click on Studio 1. The overview for this is you're going to start the goal is that you're going to start reading about current issues that might be interesting to you. Could possibly turn into an inquiry topic. It might be the thing that you decide you want to do your research on this semester. It's a chance to collaborate with other people. Like some of the other activities we're doing in class, we're trying to cast a wide net and read some different things that prompt thinking about issues that might be of interest. It might also be really current and relevant and worth looking into, and something that might be unique, something that you might have not thought about before, might be also something that other people are interested in hearing, because it is particularly new and kind of speaks to things that are happening right now. The work for this activity is going to be completed on a Padlet that I'm going to explain in just a minute. You are going to be prompted to submit screenshots of your work as images to submit. And again, I'll explain that kind of when we get there. You have to complete everything in order to get it complete for the activity. And then we're going to move into kind of what you're going to be doing next, which is the exploring some inquiry ideas and doing a little bit of reading. What you're going to be doing in this activity is read through some different texts. We've talked a little bit about topics. Now we're going to get a little bit more specific and start to read some things that reflect interesting conversations. TED Talks, watch a documentary, read a blog, read a news article. I'll provide some spaces where you can go to find some of these sources. You're going to choose some things that seem interesting to you, that reflect interesting issues, and share them with other people on a Padlet that I'm going to show you how to use in just a minute. So I'm going to go to the next piece. So that was just sort of the overview. The first part of the project is exploring inquiry ideas. So I am asking you to go read, watch, or listen to something, a text that's part of a conversation that you might decide to choose. It looks like it interests you for some reason. As I will have said in class a couple of times, probably by the time you start to really work on this and finish this up, is two things you might decide to pick for an interesting topic to you. Might be one, something that attaches to your major. A lot of times people do either do something they can use later in their major, in their work, or they decide on a major if they choose something that ends up being clearly lets them know this is not something they want to go into. So I've had people actually make this helpful for them in that way. So it might be an issue that attaches to your major in some way. So if you're looking into education or going into being a teacher, looking at like testing and teacher pay and assessment and some of those other things, some of those things might be helpful. Curriculum, or it could just be something that you are just genuinely interested in maybe hearing something about because it's maybe a hobby, or it's an issue like within a topic you already kind of look into because of a personal interest, that kind of thing. Here's some places you can go. So I have TED Talks, I have USA Today, New York Times, Huffington Post. I think I've got Christian Science Monitor, Mother Jones, Slate, NPR. I try to sort of kind of mix it up and get some different like types of like news and perspectives and things on here. So you can use any of these to maybe try to find something. Once you have just read or watched things, you're going to pick 2 things that are worth sharing with other people. Now what I have here is a Padlet. If you've never used one, it's kind of like a digital sticky note board where you're going to share your links. I have an example here of what it's going to look like when you're done. And you can also just, if you don't want to write on this, you can use the link here to get the whole board on a separate space. So again, what you've got here, and I've made this collaborative. I've actually saved a couple of things from previous semesters that are different issues, and so you can kind of see, you can use these for this activity also, but in terms of responding to, not choosing them. But here's some different things people have shared on this Padlet. So what you're going to be doing, the directions are down here. Step 1, double click here to add this blog or news article that you're going to share. You're going to write your name in the title section. You're going to add an attachment where you're going to put the link in there. You're going to write in the write something section. So if you click here, your name, and you have your name here, like mine is here obviously, so I wouldn't need to, but you're just going to pop up and say anonymous. You would put your name here. So you would put your name in the title section. You would put in the write something 1 to 2 sentences that's a catchy title, a question, a quote from the text, a brief summary, something that just lets people know what it's about. It makes them maybe want to read it. So this again is where you would put that. Here is where you're going to copy and paste the link. And I'm going to use this link here. And if you can't see, I'm using the link from this Padlet, and I'm going to share it. So I just have something to paste here. You click save, and here's the link where it pops up. And when you're done, people can click on the link, and it takes them to that page. In the comment section, you're going to add a 2 to 3 sentence comment for each one. So each one is going to have something that summarizes like what your interest is in that issue, your reaction, why it might be a good issue to research. So even if you don't decide on this, it's there for somebody else. So kind of a group kind of digital collaboration about some different topics that might be interesting. And rather than just sharing topics in class, getting a little more specific by giving people something they can read that would maybe get them started thinking about how they could turn this into a question that they could research. So this is where your 2 to 3 sentences kind of goes. And again, I already have a sample up here, so I'm going to delete this. And then here is kind of my sample of how this could look when you're done. Okay, once you've posted 2, you're going to reply to 2. And that's step 2. Read through at least 2 sources posted by someone else. Write a 3 to 4 sentence response to them. It could be A, your opinion or reaction to the issue as a whole. It could be B, your a reply to your peer's initial comment, or it could be C, a reaction to something specifically discussed in the piece. So maybe you just want to note something or agree or disagree with something that was said in the article or the TED Talk or whatever it is itself. Make sure you're adding your name to things. So adding your name again, like to the top, so I know who it is and who commented on it, and also like if it's anonymous, like adding your name at the end. You could also create an account and sign in and make it easier on yourself that way, but make sure I have your name for things. Once you have posted 2 things, and reply to 2 other people. You're going to go on to the submission part of the activity. The Padlet itself is for you to have this sort of collaborative space that's there later that we can use. You can come back to, you can look at some different ideas that people have. I am not going to search for 4 individual things for 80-something people on this Padlet in terms of assessment. It makes it a little bit inaccurate because, if you forgot your name, like I might miss it, something like that, if you forgot to sign it. What I ask that people do is submit a screenshot of each of the 4 things you want to submit. So going through and just making sure that once you find your own post, take a screenshot of it, do the same for the next one, do that for the same of each of your replies, and then when you go to submit it, you'll add those as files at the end of those images. People have asked before if they can put their images on a document and submit that, the one document, that's fine too. Whatever lets me be able to see and easily just boom, 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 read what you put on the Padlet. What I'm going to be looking for is evidence of the 2 peer responses. So you replied to other people, they were substantial, they were thoughtful, there were 3 to 4 sentences. Evidence of 2 personal submissions, so you did your 2 submissions that reflect debatable issues that are not on the list of banned topics that we will have already gone over at that point. Personal post meets requirements, so they have the hook, the explanation of why you chose it, all of that stuff. So all that is there too. So those are the requirements that you have to have. So if you have questions about this, let me know. And that is it. So this is Studio One in a nutshell. Again, you can view this early. But we're also going to take, a few minutes in class to also kind of go over this. And I also just want you to get a feel of getting these directions through a video, like outside of class, because this is likely how we'll typically do it. And I'll post these videos either in announcements or with the directions for that activity, and you'll have about a week or 2 to go over it. But again, you're welcome to send me emails, like ask me questions in class. Even though this was considered like an independent part of the class, it's still part of the class. So you're welcome to ask questions and use available class time for that also.